You are listening to the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and this podcast is going to teach you all about what's happening, what the trends are, the latest news, the thought leaders, the business leaders in the cannabis industry. As this industry moves forward at a rapid pace, everyone needs to adapt. Everyone needs to change to what's going on. And we're going to bring you those guests. What are they doing to make their business successful? What are they doing to get their product out there? How are they getting exposure? How are they dealing with all the changing laws? That's what Pot.Live is going to be all about. And make sure you visit Pot.Live, download the app, go to the website, and you will see all of the digital media assets from articles, videos, podcasts, everything. The latest news and trends will all be at Pot.Live. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. Have you checked out the new MJ.com? That's right, a two-letter domain in the cannabis industry, and it's the only one. It's got everything you need. You can get the latest news, articles, trends, information from business insiders, business leaders, political, medical, professional, whatever you need is right at MJ.com. You can shop on their marketplace for all the top brands, including the newly released full spectrum CBD product line from MJ.com. And don't forget the new MJ VIP membership platform, where you can have insider access behind the curtain of all the top features in the industry, discounts, free items, everything that you could only get by being a VIP member at MJ.com. Check us out. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Pot.Live podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today we have a very unique guest, Mr. Robert Strawder, better known as the Vegas Don. Robert has done amazing things. He has even run for Congress last year. He is a rapper. He's part of Digital Underground. He's a producer and a movie director. He did Checkmate, the movie. We're going to get into that. He has his new podcast, Hip Hop Meets Politics. He's got a book coming out. He's got a documentary coming out. Robert, welcome to the show.
Woo, woo, woo. What's up, man?
All right. I'm so glad to have you on the show. So let's start right off with, I know you have a quote out there, America is ready for hip hop and politics to join forces. Tell us why.
Man, because, hip hop started back in New York, but it started in the projects, and it spoke about what was going on in the streets and how regular folks felt. And it resonated throughout the world. And now it's the number one gross selling mainstream music in the world. So we get our message out through rapping and through music, and everyone listens to it. It isn't just Black culture like it was built for. It's every culture. So Hip Hop Meets Politics is a platform that I created when I started running for politics, because a lot of the verbiage that the politicians were using, it went over my head. I didn't understand it, didn't care. So what I tell politicians and different firms is I'm like an interpreter, like a person that interprets Spanish to a person that doesn't know. So I tell them they speak in Spanish to my community. And if they tell me what's going on, I could tell my community what's going on and build a relation. So Hip Hop Meets Politics through my music, through my knowledge of going and running for politician in Congress, gave me some communication skills.
Yeah, so you're the bridge to some of that, vanilla vernacular, if you will, of politicians speaking to the masses, but that doesn't always hit every community. And you're the bridge to almost translate certain, motives and stuff like that to your community. And then they trust you as a liaison. Would that be right?
Exactly. That's perfect, brother. You said it exactly how it is. And that's how we created Hip Hop Meets Politics. And that platform is launched already. And we plan on doing HBCU tours, university tours. We just did. You see us in college out here. And it's just blowing up, man. It's a great thing.
That's awesome. And we're going to promote the heck out of that for you. And we'll put all that stuff in the show notes. And we're going to dive into that a little deeper. But first, let's back up. Let's back up to Robert Strawder's journey. I know you started with a little bit of a tough childhood. Can you take us a little bit through your journey of, when you grew up and on your way to becoming a successful man as you got older?
Yeah, well, I'm from Los Angeles, California, but my mother, she met a smooth talking cat from Las Vegas, and he coerced her to move out here when she was like 19 or 18. And from there, she got married to him. We didn't know at the time he was a heroin addict. And my mom had 5 kids total, but my stepfather, He was abusive. He smoked heroin. We grew up in one of the roughest neighborhoods in Las Vegas called Donna Street, and just a lot of poverty, being hungry. And once my stepfather left, because my mom, she ended up stabbing 4 or 5 times because he used to beat on her all the time. And when he beat on her, when I was like 10, I used to jump into fights with her, and I hit him in the back with the skateboard, and he'd lock me in the closet when she go to work and she get off work. I tell her to get in fights. So a long story short, he ended up dying from the heroin needles of AIDS. And then that left my mother to take care of me. And I was, at the time, I've been the oldest sibling of all her 5. And when the crack epidemic came back in the 80s, it caught hold of my mother when I turned 16. And I was in the 10th grade, and she disappeared. We ended up, like the power being off, the gas being off, trying to sometimes take a bath and put a bowl of plastic water in the microwave, wait till it heat up, throw it in the tub. By the time it get halfway, the water cold. So long story short, I was like, man, I'm in the 10th grade. Moms haven't been around. I don't know what I should do. Should we turn ourselves into social services? Or, if we don't do that, then I have to start hustling. So what are we going to do? So at the time I was 16. My 3 sisters were 13, 11, and 5, and my brother was 15. And they were like, well, we scared. We don't want to be separated. So can you start hustling? And then I said, well, I'm going to start hustling. We take an oath. We took the oath. The oath was that we wouldn't tell our family members who wasn't helping us anyway. We wouldn't tell our teachers, and we wouldn't tell our friends that I was doing this. Because, I'm 16 and hustling, taking care of the family, paying the bills, getting our school clothes. If they knew that, we would have got separated. So we did that. I ended up becoming a big time hustler all the time. I was most valuable player on the basketball team and got a college scholarship. Ended up going to college, dropping out of college because I used to come back to Las Vegas from Porterville, California, JC College, and sell drugs every weekend, and then go back and miss my Monday first period class. So I ended up getting in some trouble out in college and dropped out and became a kingpin. And then from there, I got arrested. Police set me up with 3 felonies. I took a lie detector test, passed that, and beat it, but I got 3 years of probation, caught another case, was on the run in California. I came back to Vegas, was on the run for 18 years, turned myself in 2015, beat my case in 2016, and then from there, here we go. I'm here. I was a big time pimp at the time too. And, the streets, they know my struggle. They knew I came from nothing to where I'm at now. And that's why they labeled me the Vegas Don, because I not only capture the streets with the hustling and grinding, but, and being a Donna Street Crip and all that at one,
Yeah. So, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that about your parents. That must have been rough, and you have to turn to that type of lifestyle. What was it in your mindset? I know part of it was out of necessity because you had to take care of your siblings, but what was it in your mindset that even allowed you to hustle? And even though, the stuff was illegal, you still had that entrepreneur mindset. How did you even cultivate that in your own brain?
When I was younger, like 5 years old, I remember my father in California, and he was like the first person in California to buy a Brougham Cadillac off the floor cash. And he was a journeyman, so he had money. And he used to always tell me that, I'm going to have money. So I just, even though I never seen him or messed with him, that always resonated in my mind. And I was like, well, I'm a boss, and I'm a just, my mom and them always said when I was younger, I always act like a little man. So when the pressure was on me, I knew that it was either I do this or we go to the social services, and I would never see my brothers and sisters. We didn't have nothing. Me and my brothers sharing pairs of pants, everybody talking about us, saying we poor, this to that. It was free lunch tickets to this to that. It was very crazy, but that just made me grind even harder because I knew I wanted to be somebody and I wanted to have money in my pocket.
Thank you for sharing the story. I can't even imagine that, going through that. So, kudos to you for somehow making it through and becoming the man you are. So as you're on the run for years and stuff, what made you get into, when did you start getting into rap and hip hop?
Oh, I've been in rap and hip hop in my high school days. I started rapping at our school assemblies, and every high school used to come to our high schools, and we used to rock on the mic, me and one of my friends. And me and my brother, our group was called the Pretty Boys. So we used to always rock the mic And then from there, when I went to college, I used to rhyme during halftime of our tournaments. And then, from there, when I started hustling, I stopped rhyming when my brother was rhyming. He ended up opening up for the Fat Boys or Mix-a-Lot. I was so mad because I started the group, but then I chose to hustle and be a gangster instead of rhyming, right? So later on, once I got arrested, I stopped serving for a minute. I got back into rhyming, did my first single, was called Living in the Negative. And then from there, I did my album, was called Living in the Negative. And on the process of doing that, my cousin was out in Reno, and he was like, man, I got Digital Underground, Too Short, Tone Loc, the Loonies, just a whole bunch of people coming out here. I can put you on the key of it. And you could be the main actor, where you want to go. I said, I want to perform right before Digital Underground, so I went out there to Reno and killed the show. And at the time, I used to have the Straw Girls. At the time, I was a big time pimp in Las Vegas. Floyd Mayweather, Snoop, them, everybody knew. I used to always be with 4 beautiful women everywhere I go. They was all my girlfriends for like 10 years of my life. They used to be with me. And I used to always, it'd be Straw and the Straw Girls. So when I performed, I had the Straw Girls and booty shorts with Straw Girls on the booty, and they going crazy. So, the stage, everybody loved that. At the time, that was like in 2000, 2001. So I do that. Shock G, he like one of the girls that was a Straw Girl. I just got her from a strip club out here, and she was from Hawaii. So he wanted to talk to her, and she brought him to me and was like, you want to talk to me? Here go my boy, his name is Straw. And then that's how I got introduced to Shock G. And when we got introduced, I gave him my CD. At the time, I didn't know he discovered Tupac. But, this agent that wanted to manage me, he was calling me. And I said, Shock G just called me and told me he loved my album. And he coming to Vegas at the AVN Awards. And he wanted to hook up with me. And he said, you talked to Shock G? And I said, yeah. He said, he discovered Tupac? I hung up with him and called Shock and say, man, I didn't know you discovered Tupac. And he said, was I supposed to tell you? And I was like, I didn't know, man. I want to hook up with you. I want to do a song with you, fam. I want to be with DU and stuff. And he said, I'm coming out there. So he came out here, and they performed at the Venetian Hotel at the AVN Awards with Exhibit. And when we performed at that time, I used to sell ounces of chronic. You know what I'm saying, to everybody that came out here in the industry. So I had an ounce of chronic, and then I had an ounce of regular, like mid-grade. You know what I'm saying? So I rolled a whole big fat blunt with an ounce of the mid-grade, and then me and Shock now, we would smoke the chronic, blunts after blunts. So he said, when we do 5 on it with the Loonies, you gonna come up and you gonna blaze this big blunt we just rolled. And, in 2000, that was fucking illegal to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To do this. So we roll this big blunt, 5 on it, come on. We at the Venetian, it's packed. Shock say, man, this crowd is bunk, man. It's boring. Y'all, we gonna get y'all lit up in here. Hey, y'all know who the Vegas Don is? And brought me out. This the Vegas Don. Give it up. And the crowd started going crazy. So I blazed the blunt. I blazed the little big blunt. Security come from everywhere. Tackle me, the blunt fly out my hand, and they was trying to arrest me. I told them, okay, I'll put it out. I put it out. Shock them laughing. They doing 5 on it. The Loonies, I got 5 on it. They doing it. They get done with the song. Shock called me and give me the mic and push me in front of everybody on the instrumental. I kill it, right? I kill a song, give them back the mic. The show over, I had met some girls. I pull them on stage. They go in the green room, get butt naked. And that's how I got introed into Digital Underground. The next day, we go to my studio at my house. Me and Shock, we do our song called City to City. It premiered on Late Night BET. It's called City to City. If they Google Strawder Vegas Don, City to City with Shock G, they'll see it, man. And from then on, Shock put me up under his wing. I went on tours with him all across America, and it was one of the greatest times of my life. That's how I learned how to be in the industry and what about writers and all the professional stuff in the music industry, because Shock and Money B, Digital Underground, them showed me the ropes.
Wow. And that whole stage experience of getting tackled by security, that probably just elevated your reputation. You became like a cult hero, I bet, right?
Right, because Shock them knew when they come out here, oh, the Vegas Don got the weed. You know what I'm saying? We call him, he gonna have the weed and bring it to us. You know what I'm saying? And it was crazy, man. But everybody thought I already had a record deal because I was in the pimp game. I had all the girls. I was selling kush, and I didn't even want a deal. I turned the deal down from Universal. I still kicked myself in the butt because I had a deal off of City to City music video and the single, and I turned it down. And till this day, my friend that hooked me up with the deal still laugh and talk about me. Say you was arrogant because me and Floyd was friends too, and everybody said me and them had the same kind of attitude, and I had a big old ego too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So a lot happened. A lot happened after that. I ended up losing everything I had in '07, '08. I filed a $1.5 million bankruptcy. I was like, didn't have nowhere to go. It was all bad after everything was so high and went so low for me. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Peaks and valleys. So for those who don't know, Shock G is one of the founders of Digital Underground. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's the creator of Digital Underground. Yes.
Yeah, I think, wasn't he in Hip Hop Evolution, that documentary?
Yeah. He's all throughout it. If they look at it, they'll see, Shock G on there.
That's an excellent documentary. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
So
I
now,
love that documentary.
Oh, it's great. It's great. It's addicting. All right. So now you're living that life, the crazy life. When does Checkmate, the movie, come into your head, and how does that happen? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Okay, so Checkmate came in because I always used to go to Atlanta and do my music. I used to tour with JT Money and, tour and do a lot of my music from Atlanta because I didn't want the West Coast sound. I wanted Atlanta sound. So when I was out there and I came out here, some female that wanted to manage me and a producer out there was like, we want to come out there and film a movie. And I said, okay, and we going to film it like, I guess we going to act like we coming to Vegas and then you write Atlanta and Vegas movie. And I said, okay. And he said, yeah, I want 4,000 for it. You give me 4,000 and I'm going to come out there. And I was like, man, I'm from the streets. If you give somebody your money up front, you ain't even going to get nothing back. Me and him got in a big argument and I hung up in his face. And I said, forget him. And I just wrote it myself. I said, I want to call it Checkmate, like chess, Checkmate. And I just wrote about how everybody comes from like New York, Chicago, LA, and they always brag about their city and they try to bring their city to Las Vegas. Las Vegas had the same rules. They don't care where you from. It's about the strip. It's about the mob life, the gambling, the prostitution, the drinking, 24 hours and the partying, So I wrote the movie and then ended up, when I was on the run, I wrote the movie while I was on the run. And then when I beat my case, 4 months when I beat my case, I was like, I want the movie to premiere. And I premiered it on the Black Film Festival. And the news did a cover story. The Channel 3 NBC News did a cover story on me from the projects to the big screen and talked about me growing up in the projects, serving drugs, being a known drug dude and a gangster to now writing movies, a comedy. And it was sold out. It was over 200 people. And it was filled up. It was packed. They loved it. I played 3 roles. I play a Spirit of Las Vegas. I play also myself, Robert, the Vegas Don, the rapper. And then I play Irie, the wild Jamaican man. We give you a piece of me pie.
Nice.
And
nice.
It's about smoking weed, and we call the marijuana there. It's called a Johnny Sprocket man.
So even if we stopped right there, Robert, you've lived quite the amazing life up until that point. Now, what in the hell made you want to get involved in politics and run for Congress? Tell me when that happened, that switch flipped in your brain and you said, you know what? I'm going to run for Congress.
Hey, it was like, so I did the movie premiere, and Yvonne Rainey, she's the Black Caucus, the Libertarian Black Caucus. I wanted her to manage me because she used to be managing like YG, E40 now. And I just be, man, I want you to manage me. You got all these people you manage. And she ended up stopped being in the industry. And I thought she was, and she wasn't. And she said, I'm not managing no more, but I am a libertarian and I am looking at your page and I see you still, because at the whole time, even when I was selling drugs, I always gave back, fed the kids with pizza. My first video that I shot called Sin City in 2000, I filmed it on the set. I fed all of the kids on Easter. So I always giving back to the community and mentoring the kids, and just didn't want them to end up in a messed up situation like myself, even if they living in a messed up situation. So she seen the movie, she seen me doing like the music. She said, you always fighting for our community and for the youth. You need to be a politician. And I said, man, I got an effed up past. I can't be no damn politician. She said, all the politicians got a messed up past. They just hide it. You don't need to hide it. You need to tell us up front so we know what it is. And then so I said, I don't know, man. I'm a Democrat. I don't know. So 6 months they was hooking up. The Libertarians hooked up with me. And then finally I said, you're right. I'm going to hook up with you. I want to do it. And everybody in Vegas was like you said. They was like, what the hell is gangster, this to that. So I ended up doing it. I filmed it. And then I just started rubbing shoulders with Sisolak and Susie Lee, all of the senators and congressmen and women. And they started calling me the Vegas Don. And I started learning about like assisting DACA with the Mexicans and the Latins, and then started learning economy and, learning education. I'm a big time mentor here. So I always been in education. And then boom, next thing you know, I just was in the game, and I was learning like I did with Digital Underground, with different politicians showing me different avenues and different lingo and how the operation runs in politics. And so I felt like I was so blessed to be from the streets and then just get handed the key to get in the industry. It never happens. Because my uncle, I don't know if you guys know Fillmore Slim. If you Google Fillmore Slim, big time pimp dude back in the day. Everybody that used to be a pimp emulates him. He's a godfather. He's my uncle. And he said, man, if anybody else tried to run for Congress, they would have ran him out of town. But
how were you received by the other politicians? Were they looking at you as like, what the hell's this guy doing here? Or were they like, all right, we want some diversity, or not?
No, they were like looking like, what the hell, right? Yep. And then when they heard me speak and they seen that I was halfway intelligent, then they kind of gave me a chance. And the more they see me, the more they kind of like just dealt with me. You know what I'm saying? So now if they see me, they deal with me and they know like, okay, he's kind of serious. They still don't know how serious I am, but they do give me the respect as they would most politicians.
And did you have to do debates locally and stuff like that, or no?
Yeah, I was scared as a hooker in church doing my debates. You know what I'm saying? I was scared, man. And it's like I still get kind of nervous with debates because I'm not a scholar, and I wasn't a political science major. You know what I'm saying? So they have the advantage on me. But what I do tell them is I have the advantage in the street. I'm a street politician. I know about what's going on in the community and what the common folk need. So I am a scholar in that. And that's where I have the advantage at, because I kind of, where they want to reach that millennial type, they want to reach that generation, but demographic and generation, but they can't. And I tell them I can. And they say, well, if you're the rapping politician, man, bust something for me. And I'll be on the podium. And then I say, all right, I'll bust something. Neither of the parties doing nothing for the people, so vote for me. I stand for change, like Martin Luther had a dream. Black, brown, and white, balling on the same team. Let's make America America again. Let's start with poverty. Help the homies get jobs, have less murders and robberies. Trump building a wall. Ain't this the land of the free? Treating Mexicans like the Indians and us slavery. See, this hip-hop meets politics. Stand for diversity. No firearms in school against police brutality. Black on black brutality. No more homeless vets in the streets while the government controlling our mind democracies. I'm just out here trying to eat and keep my freedom of speech while crooked politicians selling us out for some G's. My reality, equality, and liberty. But until I get that, I'm like Kaepernick taking a knee, thinking G-O-D for this hip hop.
Yes, that's pretty smooth, dude. Not bad, not bad. Not bad at all. And I'm just a white suburban guy, and I like that.
Man, I hit them with that. They go crazy. I mean, politicians be like, what the hell just happened? I mean, and I go to the high schools where, we set up our tables, and man, I have all the kids coming up there. I'll be busting rhymes. They be like, what the hell? A rep be telling my mom about you and this and that. And the politicians come over there. They say, what the hell did you get these kids? Because they giving them candy, T-shirts, cups, money to come to their table. And I'm just rapping and being cool. And they all gathering around my table, you know? Just
Yeah. You bring up an interesting point besides the entertaining factor of it. Think about today's political climate. Like think about, right, who's running. So whether you love or hate Trump or you love and hate Elizabeth Warren, who cares? I don't really care either way, right? But think
right.
about those people like Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Trump, they're trying to reach the younger demographic. It's impossible. The young people don't like any of them. Right?
Don't like any of them.
Right, but that's the one thing, whether you hate or love Trump, and I'm assuming you hate him, but at least he was smart enough in the last election to use social media to get his message home, and it got him a lot of votes, where these older politicians don't know how to do that. You know what I mean? Like, so they should be utilizing people like yourself who have access to the communities where they're not welcome, if you will, or not, people aren't listening to their message, and they just don't do that. They don't do that.
That's what they it seemed like with Hip Hop Meets Politics, a lot of people are trying to get on board, and we in meetings and negotiations now. So the more people that we rub shoulders with, they do see what you're saying, and they do speak with me about, crossing the bridge with them, what they're saying and what I'm doing. So we are in talks right now with different campaigns and political leaders on bridging the gap with Hip Hop Meets Politics and their whatever venture that they're on.
Yeah, and it doesn't even just have to be inner city or hip hop culture. Like I'm a 50-year-old white guy, right? I've got 2 teenage girls, and they don't want to listen to any of these politicians. They bore the heck out of them, no matter what side of the fence you're on. So they don't even listen, and then they have no care in the world about who's getting elected, and that's not what America's about. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I wish that there would be candidates of all sizes, shapes, and colors that can actually relate to all sizes, shapes, and colors instead of just one for one. You know what I mean? It would be so much easier and more positive that way.
Yeah, that's true. That's why we bridge the gap with Hip Hop Meets Politics, because, hip hop is the number one growth selling communicator and earning in music in the world. So what better way to communicate with these youth, like you say, than through music and through hip hop and entertainment. That way, when I come through their town, they like, man, he rap hard. Rappers respect me. Politicians respect me just because of what I represent. And when I speak on what I know. I'm not speaking on like what I think about education. I speak on education because I graduated in 2017 with a double degree, general studies and mental behavior service degree. So I ended up graduating from college. That was one of the biggest accomplishments that I thought I ever do. Once I dropped out from basketball, I never thought I could do that.
That's great, man. You really turned a really negative, and I'm not insulting you, I'm just saying a negative childhood experience and some, choices in life, and you spun it to be a positive influence for your community and what you're doing now. So let's finish up about your podcast. So the podcast is called Hip Hop Meets Politics, like you said.
Yes, that's
okay. So when listeners tune in there, what are they going to hear exactly? What type of guests? What type of conversations?
Well, we had Cory Booker for our first guest. He did great. We had ex-felon vote. We had League of Women Voters speaking on stuff. We getting ready to have one of the biggest political Latin Mexican leaders, advocators on the show. We having economics. We're just doing like you just said with your daughters. We have a show where I have Hip Hop 101, where I teach new hip hop artists about how the industry is ran, from janky promoters to publishing to 360 deals. We have Politics 101, where we explain how politics run and operate. We have Change the Game, just speaking on different things like how college, you get 2 years of college now. And that's when we were going to school, that would have been a miracle. These kids now, they just don't even care about it. But we speak on that. And then the stories, every time at the end of the podcast, I tell a story like I'm telling you all my stories like now about my life, to give kids that grew up like me and kids that didn't grow up like me an understanding on what real life is about and how to escape. Like me, a 1%er, I escaped it, and I'm happy and blessed.
Absolutely. So tell us, let's finish up. Tell us about the book and the documentary that you're working on.
Oh yeah, Hip Hop Meets Politics, the documentary is just filming me from some of the stuff from the streets, my neighborhood, and then it goes into me running for politics, then it goes into my life, and just a brief description on how hip hop and politics came together. and bridging the gap, with giving understanding to the world so they understand who I am as a person and as an entertainer and as a politician. And then the book is just giving you what I just gave you, a quick little spiel about my life. It just gets in depth on some things from the start to the finish of where I'm at now, to running for Congress. It gives a story, and you guys love it. It gives a story of me coming from nothing and poverty to something.
That's awesome. So where can our listeners find more information about you or your ventures?
You can find Hip Hop Meets Politics on all media social outlets and YouTube and IG, Facebook. And you can find me on Facebook at Van Strawder, Strawder, or Google Robert Strawder or the Vegas Don.
Excellent. And final question, Robert. We always ask everybody, what they're excited about or concerned about in the cannabis industry. So being in Nevada, which is a legal state, why don't you just tell us what what the environment's like, or what you're excited about with marijuana legalization, and maybe something that concerns you as well.
All right. What I'm excited about is Nevada Normal. It's a national nonprofit organization that advocates for marijuana being legalized federally, which is hopefully coming soon. And that we just passed 2 laws, and I was my best friend, one of them that's in the politics, and her with Nevada Normal. She passed a law where when you fill out your applications like you do across the United States, they give you that marijuana test. And Las Vegas, starting in January of 2020, they wiped that out. There's no more, you can't test for marijuana, period, unless you're a firefighter, ambulance doctor, or limo driver or something like that, then you get tested. But other than that, they wiped that out. And ex-felons, if you do have a record for marijuana, then they expunge that. So I'm excited about that. And I'm just excited, hopefully to get it passed federally so we can blaze up everywhere. It's blazing up everywhere out here in Las Vegas, on the strip, in the desert, everywhere, in the church, wherever, So I'm excited about that, just legalization of marijuana. And all you smokers out there, y'all come to Vegas and y'all smoke, and make sure y'all Google me or howl at me, and let's have a good time on the strip.
Excellent. That was awesome. Robert Strawder, the Vegas Don. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
And thank y'all too, man. One love.
And we'll see you next time on the Pot.Live podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, that means you like digital media. And where is the home for all digital media content in the cannabis industry? It is Pot.Live. That's right, Pot.Live. That's where you'll find all of the podcasts that you like, just like the one you're listening to right now. All of the video content that you love, and all of the written articles, trends, news, whatever you need, it's all right there. Entertaining and educational, the home of digital media content in the cannabis industry. Visit us at Pot.Live and download the free app at your Google Play Store and the Apple iTunes Store.